Well, good evening, everybody. Welcome to Sty Times. Hey, it's great to be back. See, we had a couple of folks chatting over there. We had Sid the Boo and the NDP show up over in the chat. That's neat. I always love it when I see folks over there chatting away. I just updating the screen. There we go. But yeah, boy, it's a Wednesday. Wow, Wednesday. Man, oh man. Hey, we got Justin Anderson came in the house. We got Lon Duck came in the house. Shiva B's here. It's great to see everybody. CC, hello. It's good to see you again. Yeah, I don't know how it is for all you folks, but boy, it's a cold one. It's a chilly one today. Got up to 10 degrees for about an hour, and now it's dropping again. Now, on the phone, it says it's supposed to get down to 8 below tonight, but on the radio, they said it's supposed to be 11 below tonight. So I don't know. All I know is it's going to be below zero. It's going to be cold. It's going to be doggone cold. They're saying it's a new normal for us now. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. It kind of fits with the will this ever end topic. And this term, the new normal. Yeah. No. Please no. Justin Anderson says that it's 8 degrees in Minnesota for a high, and it's already down to 4 degrees. Yeah, I don't know what it's down to here, but I can feel it in the house. The furnace is working a little harder. It's chilly out there. It's chilly out there. I had to do some running around town today, and was thinking about tonight's topic, and yeah, Shiva V says it's 8 below with the wind chill factor. Yeah. I don't know what it is here with the wind chill factor. The winds are right around 25 miles an hour. So it's pretty cold wind chill factor. Yeah. Will this ever end? Well, you kind of know where part of it's going to go. Of course, the hot topic nowadays is the virus, but yeah, when will that ever end? It's not gonna. They're gonna let this play out until all of a sudden it's just not a topic anymore. But there's a lot of other things that are going with it right now. We've got the inflationary issue. We got, gasoline prices are so blasted high. Today I saw it's $3.24 again. We had it down to I think the lowest I saw was $2.94 a couple of weeks ago, and now it's right back up there at $3.24. Food prices. Went to the grocery store today. I'm looking at some of those food prices. I don't understand it. I just do not understand it. I kind of understand it. Supply chain issues. And there's so much, I guess when I say, will this ever end? What I really want to talk about is people's reactions to these things. And every time in history something major like this has happened, now once before, the biggest thing was back in the late 1970s when they had a fuel crisis. Well, it eventually got coined with the term the non-fuel crisis. It was a supply and demand issue is what it was. And they found out that it was intentional to drive gas prices up. And oh, here's a good example. Justin Anderson um, says, made tacos last night, 38 bucks for everything, 2 pounds of ground beef. I believe it. I believe it. You got 2 pounds of ground beef. There's almost 20 bucks tied up just in the ground beef. It's crazy. It's crazy. I looked at prices today. I just kind of moseyed through the store. It's cold out, so it was nice and warm in the store. So I just moseyed around. I got 4 small bags of groceries, and it came to $46. When I was growing up in the 60s, I can remember going to the store and coming home with 2 big armloads of groceries, 2 big paper sacks just full, walking home with those 2 big paper sacks. Mom sent me to the store with $5, and I filled 2 large paper sacks. So when I say, will this ever end? No, I don't think so. I don't think so. I think we've gotten ourselves in a slippery slope, and I don't think this will ever end. All these new prices, we're seeing all these prices being jacked up. People go, when are they ever going to come down? And I tell them, I hate to say this to you, but I'm an old man. I've been through these kind of things. They might come down a little, and then they're going to stagnate. They're going to flatten out. All this is doing is driving new prices. Boom. Get used to them. Get used to them. If your wages don't match the economy, it's going to be a tough time, because these are new prices. They're not going to be the old prices until they go up again someday down the road. I see Peppers in Kentucky Living's in the house. That is awesome. Gemma's Journey Grace, good to see you, sweetheart. And there's Tales of Campground Host. Well, hello. Well, yeah, it's 5 o'clock in the evening. Yeah, he's a teacher. He's usually busy on weekdays and in the evenings. It must be just before dinner time for him. Just after work and just before dinner. Or he's eating his dinner in front of the screen. Najuki Queen, good to see you. Awesome. Yeah, it's 11 o'clock at night for Gemma. Yep. She's over there in the British Isles. Yeah. Big time zone difference. But, okay, back to will this ever end? Part of that subject, part of that is not just these skyrocketing prices. And will that ever end? I don't believe it will. I believe it'll quit going up, but it's not going to come back down. If it does come back down, it's just going to be a little dip, and it's going to stay there. Get used to these prices. It's going to be hard to live with. But what's really hard to live with, that I'm finding, is will this attitude that people have ever end? I have never seen so many people that became almost to the point of being haters of each other. Our world that we live in It didn't matter whether we agreed or disagreed. It didn't matter. We all wanted to get through life comfortably, safely, and generally happy. That's all out the window. It's all out the window. We've been watching for about the last 2.5 years. Crime started coming up. The last year, it's really skyrocketed right through the roof. Crime is just, it's rampant. People are doing whatever they want and getting away with it. Is that ever going to end? That has to end. I hope it's not like inflation, where crime's gonna go up, up, and it'll stop rising, but it's gonna plateau and it's gonna stay up there. No, no, we don't want that. We want it to end. But will this ever end? And Justin Anderson, let's see what he's saying here. A few farmers I've talked to said pre-buy on fertilizer has more than doubled, so food prices will. Oh, the price, I think is, yeah. Prices will move more than likely go higher this summer. Yes, yeah, fertilizer, the demand on fertilizer and the cost for it has gone straight through the roof. I've talked to a few local farmers myself, and the biggest issue is this is another thing that's going to drive more family farms out of the business. Family farms nowadays, most of them are incorporated. They're either LLCs or they're S corporations, and they have to be in order for that family to protect themselves personally for liability and especially for death, because they're finding that the smaller the farm, the more liable it is to collapse. These huge corporate farms that are out there are insane. And they've got so many different ways to lean on assets and do things. But here's a real concern. Okay, so I don't buy milk anymore. I just don't drink milk. Um, I don't know the price per gallon, but I heard it's gone up pretty significantly. So I was talking to this dairy farmer about it. And I asked him, I said, is that helping you out that those milk prices have been driven up through the roof? And he goes, are you kidding? He says, what I get paid for my milk, what they're buying my milk for, went up a little bit, but it went up way up in the store. He says the large corporate dairies are charging more, but the farmer's not getting paid enough more to cover all of these new costs that are driven up by everything. And that's bad. That's not good. That's not good. That drives the small farmer out of business. When a small farmer, a small farmer can't break even. They got to come out ahead, because if they don't come out ahead, if all they do is break even, that means they're carrying debt that they can't cover. It's what they come out ahead that covers that debt. Now, I know locally here, some folks, they're what over the years, what we used to call large farms. They might have 400, 600, 800 acres, large farms. But you look at these people, they're driving beat up used vehicles. They're just getting by. They're not hiring local mechanics to work on their equipment anymore. They're doing it all themselves again. Because even having 600, 800 acres isn't going to guarantee you a plush life. You're not going to be upper middle class. Unless you got 300 acres and all you do is what we call board cows and run a huge dairy operation. And you're running 3, 4, 500 cows through that operation. You got a couple hundred acres and you got huge feedlots, blah, blah, blah. Those are corporate farms. They don't need as much land. They're buying the feed for their cattle elsewhere. There's one family dairy farm left in my area. In the 90s, there was around 30. Yep. I remember in the late 70s, straight through the 90s, all around Minneapolis, St. Paul, that's all farm country out there. And that cities kept growing and growing and growing. And there were some old farmers, they just weren't going to give up. They wanted to buy every piece of farmland they could near that city. And the only farms really that are existing anymore, small farmers, are quite a ways out on the fringe of that, like the city of Minneapolis. They're quite a ways out on the fringe. But the city's encroached real close to them. And what they do is these huge investors come in and they offer 1.5 times market value for that farmland, and they convert it into more city, housing developments, commercial lands, blah, 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 and you lose the farm. And the bigger corporate farms make out a little bit better because that part of the market share is gone. So when it comes to our small farmers, they're tough people. Boy, they got a tough job. Farming isn't, I used to tell this friend of mine, he was a dairy farmer. He used to tell him, boy, you do pretty good. He always driving a nice big new truck. And he's got 2, 3 different nice, awesome fishing boats. He's got all the bells and whistles. He hasn't got any time to use any of it. He's up every single morning. He's up and out of the house by 4 a.m. in the morning. He's not done with the day, coming in the house for the night until 8 o'clock at night. Guess what? 7 days a week. 7 days a week. The only time he gets a day off is when he has one of his crew members, one of his hands, take over his duties for him. Then he can take a day off. He'll go on vacation for 1 week a year, but he spends almost that whole vacation on the phone, keeping track of everybody. Yeah, it just keeps growing. Prices, the prices are making it so that the average Joe can't buy. There is Scylla loves to fish. That's great to see you. So I was saying, we used to drive miles and see one dairy farm after another, but it's not like that anymore. You still see a few here and there, but now it's mostly housing, apartments, businesses, and parking lots. Yep, it's so true, so true. My ex-wife and I, we lived on an awesome 80-acre farm. Hasn't been sold out yet. The original owner, I leased it from someone. They still hold it. They still own it. They run a big pig operation, big pig farm. And this 80-acre farm just happened to come up for sale, and it's adjacent to his. The land is connected. So he jumped right on it. He bought that 80 acres up, but it had a big, beautiful 4-bedroom, 2-story, massive 2-story, big old farmhouse. Boy, that place was sweet. Big, huge barn, couple small outbuildings, chicken coop, had 3 horse corrals, and the rest of the 80 was all, he was using it for pasture land and for making hay. He wasn't planting crops on the rest of it. He could. It's got the best soil in the world. I dropped a 3-bottom plow. Now, a 3-bottom plow means it's got 3 plow blades on it. I dropped those blades to 18 inches. 18 inches into the ground. That's 1.5 feet into the ground. And I plowed a 4-acre patch on that property. All that turned over was the blackest dirt you ever saw. It was so pitch black. You take a hand of it, smell it. You could just smell how organic smelling it was. And I asked him, how deep does that dirt go? And he goes, about 26 inches. 26 inches in that area. And I said, and these developers are trying to buy this land up to build houses on it. And he goes, yeah. I said, that's insane. What that soil could grow. And he goes, yeah. Well, again, there we go. Will this ever end? Will people ever realize we should not be building our homes on agricultural lands that can produce lots of food for us? We should be producing our homes on the marginal land, sand, clay, rock. That's where homes should be built. They shouldn't be built on this beautiful ag land. It's a shame. We talk every day, we got to protect nature. We got to watch out for nature. Protect the national forests. Protect your state parks. What about our agricultural lands? And then some of these huge corporate farmers. Now, like this 80 acres I was on, that soil is all old, ancient riverbed and silt over many, many, many generations that built up there. And there was hardwood forests throughout that area for millennia. That was all cut out, all the stumps removed. There wasn't any stone in that ground. You pull that plow through that dirt, not a single stone would come up. But yet they want to build housing projects and strip malls and gas stations and on top of that. Now, the guy that owned the land said, I've never had to put fertilizer on that other than hauling fertilizer out of the barns and spreading it on the fields. I've never had to add nitrogen or anything to the soil. He said it's so well balanced. And he says it'll grow the most beautiful corn. Well, this is when I first moved in. That year, right across the road, there's a road that ran past our property, and right across it is part of his huge farm. He planted corn. We had a rule in Minnesota, knee high by 4th of July. If your corn's not at least knee high by 4th of July, the crop's going to be iffy. Corn on his place by the 4th of July was almost to my belt. That's how good it grew on that soil. But yet I could drive 50 miles from there out of that ancient riverbed area, 50 miles from there, and the corn was halfway to your knee. And they were saying, "Well, that's typical for us. Our corn's usually a late harvest because of the soil. Nobody's buying that land. Nobody's buying that marginal land." So, Chowser, Fox It Outdoors, just coming out. He says, "Is Sty North telling corny tales?" And she was saying, "Yeah, but at the same time, if you buy a piece of that land, put a house on it, and you can grow some of the most beautiful gardens and grow your own vegetables, so you don't have to buy them." Well, that's true. That is so true. That was us. I leased that 80 acres. I didn't farm that 80 acres. I got about 8 acres, 1/10 of it is all I got under my lease. The other 70 plus acres, 72 acres, was the original owner, the guy I was leasing from, for his use. And he usually ran cattle on there. He raised white Charolais cattle, and he'd run them on that 70 acres. But the 8 acres I had, I found out the hard way how rich that soil was at my first year there. Went out and tilled up about, the garden was about 60 feet wide by about 100 feet long. Well, that farm was located way out in the heart of farm country. We had so much come out of that garden, I decided I'm going to set up a serve yourself, pay on an honesty basis to get rid of some of this stuff. Tomatoes. We go out, you'd pick tomatoes, and you'd pick 2-3 bushels every single day. Yeah, I'm not kidding. I had tomato plants that were up over my head that were growing beefsteak tomatoes that big around, just bright red, beautiful. I was growing big old watermelons. My cucumbers went crazy. I mean, cucumbers, it was insane. Every day you go out there, 3-4 bushels. You know what a bushel basket looks like there. 3-4 bushels every day. Everything that grew in that garden grew so extremely well. It got to the point I raised the beef cow, a milk cow, and we raised some pigs. We had geese, turkeys, and chickens. Well, I only had 24 chickens. We ate eggs all the time. Oh my God. Boy, the ex-wife got real creative on everything you could use eggs with, you know. And I sold the eggs at that time. I was selling them for, I think, they were 50 cents a dozen of them. But, Justin, ever grow rutabagas? I love rutabagas. I love them. Oh gosh, I'm a heck of a rutabaga fan. I can boil up some rutabagas just before they're getting tender. I throw some chopped cabbage in with it. And then I fry up a bunch of bacon, or I take some ham and a ham steak and cube it up, throw that in there, throw a couple of diced up onions in it, and I eat that for weeks, especially if it's loaded with rutabagas. I love rutabagas. And yeah, I've grown them. Rutabagas, Colorados, you know, yeah, we were growing everything. The only thing I didn't grow, I grew leaf lettuce, but I didn't grow head lettuce. It takes a little babysitting. That, and I did okay, just okay with the cauliflower and broccoli. I love cauliflower and broccoli. I have a good like of broccoli. I wouldn't say I love it, but nothing like cauliflower steamed, soaked in butter, and then smothered with a nice cheese sauce. I can eat a whole big platter of cauliflower. Another thing we didn't grow much of, usually just a couple plants, and that's eggplant. But it got to the point where we were going to just do farmers market kind of thing, put a little shack out by the road, veggies, put prices up, a sign with prices, and honesty pay, be honest about it. And if you got yourself XYZ, pay for it, But I had to get rid of it. Rutabagas. Rutabagas? What's a rutabaga? I actually did a Sty Story Sunday called What I Would Do for a Rutabaga Stew. Yeah, I did. There you go, turning vegetable beef soup into rutabaga soup. Yeah. When I was a kid, my grandfather, he grew sugar beets for a couple of years. I can't remember how many acres he put in. But people don't realize sugar beets aren't like, and they don't have a flavor like a red beet, But will this ever end? Them buying up and covering farmland with, and I agree with Shiva. You go out there and you buy yourself a little 5-acre plot, 4 or 5-acre plot, put a house on, a couple little outbuildings, put yourself in a gigantic garden. You take care of yourself. With 5 acres, you got plenty of room. You can raise some chickens. You could raise a beef steer. But think about it. What you would do there, you'd be feeding one family. If that was part of an actual farm, and there were no buildings taking up that space, you'd grow food for dozens of families on that same piece of land. Yeah, there is a science to it. It is a sweet deal, though, for a family if they can get their hands on a piece of great producing property. It really is. And Shiva says, "Oh, yum, you love cauliflower the way I love it." There you go. I just love cauliflower. I can eat it raw. I like it steamed, boiled. I like it in soups. Yeah. I love taco dip and eat it with cauliflower. Yeah. But back to business. We're just about 5 minutes over the halfway point. I got to shout out my channel members, guys. This takes less than 50 seconds. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. Okay? Because this isn't going to end. back. Yeah, that's a great bunch of folks. Great bunch of folks. Boy, they really help the channel out. They help keep the channel alive. Now, going back to what's occurring today, and I was saying it's how people now, our prices are being driven up. Gas, food, everything being driven up. The cost of housing is going up. Here, I know a lot of people in the rental community, landlords. I know a lot of them. When I kind of ended my career, I wasn't ready to quit work, and so I started a consulting business, a property management business. And I took on people's properties and managed those properties for them. I had 435 properties. 103 of those, over 400 properties, 103 of them were commercial properties. And I would rent those out to, I had J.C. Penney's, I had Sears, I had a place called Sports Stuff, big outdoor sporting goods place, and all kinds of businesses. All kinds. We had 2 gas stations, and we even had a winery that was under my management umbrella. So I was very involved in the landlord, the property rental affairs in the community. I knew who the good landlords were and who the slumlords were. And yeah, I knew them all. Well, I still have coffee with them once in a while, several of them. It's a shame, but rental properties are increasing the price. They have to. They have to. In order to maintain a property now, if you've got to put some lumber into a place, you got to buy an appliance or something for a place, all those prices have been driven up. But your maintenance doesn't go away. You still have to keep these places maintained. And your prices are being driven up because of the cost of goods. So what happens? You don't have a choice. You have to raise the rent. Well, the renters are saying, hey, you're going to make us homeless. We can't pay more rent. We can't. Well, and the landlord is saying, hey, either I raise the rent or I put the house on the market, sell the house, because I can get a lot more for it now than I ever paid for it. And then you can deal with somebody else. But I guarantee you, coming in the door, they're not going to let you pay the rent you're paying now. They're going to raise it. And that's true. It's true. Shiva B is looking for, she says, I need to find myself a good electric rototiller before spring. If you've got good non-compacted soil, there's a few different ones out there, I've looked at a couple of cordless ones. You know, they're 2-tine or 4-tine, small, and they only till down maybe about 6 to 8 inches at the best. And they're slow, but if you're doing a smaller garden, yeah, I can see why you'd want one. Yeah. We're lucky here. Well, lucky that we have this place. It's called CBS Rental, and they rent everything. You name it. You need a rototiller? Go there and you say, hey, I'm putting a garden in. I need a rototiller. And they'll say, well, come on over here and they'll have a whole row of rototillers all the way from a little cordless electric one all the way up to some big old monster that's got tracks on it, and it's got 6 tiller blades on it, and it's got a big 2-cylinder Wisconsin motor, and it's like driving a tractor. They've got every size rototiller you could imagine, and you can rent them from them. You can rent them for half a day, all day, multiple days. Same with chainsaws. They've got like 5 different brands, all different sizes that you can rent from them. Log splitters for split firewood, all the way up to medium grade range heavy equipment, bobcats, skid steers, and backhoes, small backhoes. They've got hoists. Those are nice. I've rented a couple of those. They even got a 60-footer there that you can rent. And when you rent a heavy piece of equipment, you get it, the equipment and the trailer. So you don't have to have your own trailer. Pretty nice outfit. Guess what? All their prices got driven up 15%. Their rental fees went up 15% because of what it's costing them to maintain the equipment and replace it because of inflation. And they're saying, will this ever end? This is ridiculous. They said, people out there aren't making more money. Well, not enough more to cover these new costs. So their business is actually dropping off. Even though they're charging more, they're dropping off because less people are able to spend any money on doing anything. Well, will this ever end? Yes. We'll adapt. We'll learn. We'll get used to it. But will it ever change? Well, the change will be, these are the new prices. People say the virus, get used to the new norm. I don't think so with the virus. Eventually, like I said, the virus, the topic of the virus is going to die out. They'll find something new. And it won't be as much of a concern. So that will change to a point. Hopefully we can go back to some of our old normal on the health side of things. But as far as the economy goes, I don't believe we're going to see it ever end. Every several years or so, something's going to happen that drives those prices back up, drives them up again, drives them up again. Hey, Step Dan is out there in the chat. It's been a while. I'm so glad to see you, buddy. It's so good to see you. Jim is saying the UK has dropped all COVID restrictions. Wow. They're coming up with more mandates here. The whole shot and booster mandate thing and all that. I had someone tell me, be careful if you're going to mention that stuff on your live streams because, they monitor, and if they don't like it, they'll shut your stream down. And I said, well, they're doing that for misinformation. It's what they say. Okay. And I said, and I don't give misinformation. I just talk about things the way they are and what you see. I'm not telling you there is no virus or the virus is going to kill everybody. I don't go there. I don't go there with that whole issue because that goes back to, and that I hope will end. Will this ever end? And that's people's That's people's ways of dealing with each other. Empty Woods Runner saying, it's great to see you too, brother. Man, it's great to see you. He's saying hard times ahead. Yes, I believe so. I believe so. The but I've seen folks that have been dear friends for so many, many, many years. They won't even talk to each other now because one thinks this way about the whole COVID thing. The other thinks that way about the whole COVID thing. And I have them coming to me. Well, what do you think about so and so? What do you think of this? Like, oh, don't put me in that COVID sandwich. I am not the stuffing for your COVID sandwich. You two slices of bread, get together and figure it out. Don't get me in the middle. I don't. You haven't. I don't want to get you in trouble with it. You retracted a comment, but Gemma, don't you worry about a thing. Don't you worry about a thing, girl. Yeah. The I don't. I don't like the way people have been treating each other. I just don't. I. It's like, are we going to let a virus destroy lifelong friendships? The other thing that's destroying them is politics. Politics. For many, many years, I used to call myself a Republican. And that fucking do with it. Oops, sorry. Hey, B Whistle Aquatics, it's great to see you. But I called myself a Republican for good reason. I only voted for the person, not the party. I'd get to know candidates as well as I possibly could. There's this fella that he's run unopposed. He's in county government, right? County I lived in. He's run unopposed his whole stinking adult life. He first got in the county government when he was in his mid-20s. He's now 70 years old and just got reelected again last year. And he's run his whole life unopposed. Nobody runs against him. There was one time he said, I'm going to change my party. And he ran unopposed. But he changed his party affiliate from Democrat to Republican. Well, I warned him. I told him, I said, that's a very liberal county. You got to be careful of it. Sure enough, he changed himself to a Republican. And he got almost half the number of votes he typically would get during an election. Even though nobody was running against him, he still only got half the votes. Half of his followers said, well, if he's a Republican, I'm not going to vote for him. I told him, I said, it's all in the title in your case. I said, I still voted for you. And I usually vote straight down Republican ticket. I'll admit that. I usually do. Usually do. But back in the day, I voted for who was going to best represent me. I didn't care if you were a Democrat or a Republican. That's why I was a Republican. Well, he went back to the Democratic Party, and his votes came right back up, and it stayed there ever since. But he's the most conservative Democrat, I say, that's in this whole country. I really believe that. Hey, Kitty Purrs, good to see ya. Yeah, Empty Woods Runner says the concern is the virus. And that's it, is I still wonder. I still wonder if things could have been done different with the whole virus thing. I socially, as far as the social impacts of it, because it wasn't the plague. It's not the plague where you're going to get it and you're going to die. That's all there is to it. If you get it, survival rate is less than 30%. That's the plague. It's not the plague. It is. It it was for sure. I don't know. I haven't looked at the stats in the last month, but pandemic. That just means it's going to spread, man. It's going to spread across a lot of people, and there is a mortality rate that goes with it. But I understand all these people's balancing arguments all the time. It's like pro-lifers, they always make it clear. There's more abortions than there are people dying from COVID. Well, if they didn't do all of those abortions, does that mean we'd be replacing those that died off from the COVID? I think it's just the way the world turns. And we do our best to try to survive the world. The world's always out to kill us. I've got, that's a topic, actually, that'll come up in the future. We all have heard this is the first day of the rest of your life. When in actuality, when you were born, that's the first day of the end of your life. It goes both ways. It goes both ways. Sometimes you need to live thinking this is the first day of the rest of my life. And sometimes you need to live accepting the fact this is the first day of the end of my life. So, and you make plans and adjustments and things in your life based on those two factors, right? Things like we're talking about today, will this ever end? You know what will never end? People being worried about something. Yep, Stefan Dan, you're absolutely right. He says, nobody leaves this rock alive. That's right. That's right. Kitty Purse says, I just don't pay attention to the politics. I just take care of what's in front of me right now, and I stay away from the news and social media. Doesn't that make life so much easier, so much better? There's times I have to walk away from YouTube, any social medias, and take 2-3 days and just clean my head out. We've gotten to the point where I think a lot of people in the world, and yeah, Kitty Purse is absolutely right, by the way. You don't need to be paying that much attention to the politics. You want to know what are they doing to us so that you can prepare and be ready for it. We talk about preppers all the time, and yeah. Politicians can make life difficult, but we got to keep ourselves prepped and prepared for anything they might throw at us, right? And Kitty says, right now, nobody knows the truth anymore. That's what I really don't like. Will this ever end? Will people ever start telling the truth again? I love my show. I love my live streams, my chatters. boy, they're just blatantly honest. You know, they just say it the way it is. I love it. Those are the type of people I like to be surrounded by. Um, okay, Van Dan's got to step out because he's got chores to do. Thanks for being here. Oh man, it was great, buddy. It was great. Hugs to you too. But people just like turmoil. And something's got to be going wrong, otherwise my day ain't right. You know. And I tell people, why? Why do you even? Why do you all go out looking for it? You know, busy yourself with something better. Your life is your life, and it's more important to make more of your life and quit worrying about the rest of the dang world sometimes. And Kitty Purse is so right. Just stay away from most of it. It's just not good for you. Um, and that's it. She just said, this world is a really sad, messed up. It is really sad and messed up. And that's it. If we're looking at this whole world and everything that's going on, or if we even narrow it down to just our continent, narrow it down to our country, narrow it down to our state, narrow it down to our community, what really matters to each of us the most is right in our own community. We don't want it to be sad and messed up. We want to be happy and successful. Yeah. Uh, um, yeah, she's got her, she's got her head on straight. She just concentrates and focuses on the autism content for her channel and her poem writing. She does that. That's a wonderful thing. Wonderful thing. You don't have time for all the politics and the virus thing and everything when you make yourself busy. You make your mind busy with better things. And I see Woods Runner saying 99.7% survival rate. Yeah, except for the guy that doesn't survive, right? That's like I was told once, there's I went through water recovery training, recovering victims of sunken boats and fell out of their fishing boats or they're drowning at the beach, And they gave us a percentage rate of how many victims can be resuscitated. And I said, well, that success rate makes sense, except to the person you weren't able to resuscitate, because then for them, the non-successful rate is 100%. Yeah. Yeah, there's so much hatred and violence. And he said, she said, and let's play the blame game. Just a couple of Sty Times ago, I did one. You might want to go back and look at that. Stop blaming other people, it's titled. And that's what it's about. It's the blame game and all the hatred we have in the world right now. Will that ever end? I sure pray it does. I sure hope it does. I don't think I'm long for this world anymore. I'm 65 years old. I just hope it's better for people in the future. I had my prime days in the 60s, 70s, 80s. Well, I should say the 90s, yeah, early 2000s. But now things are going downhill. It's just the way it is. But will it ever end? We shall see. We shall see. We'll revisit that topic someday, right? So, hey, that's it, guys. We're at the hour mark. It's time to end the show. I want to thank everybody for being here this evening. It was awesome having you. I loved the show. And Don't skip out on the exit. Watch the exit. It's only about a minute long, and you'll catch what our next topic will be, and that'll be on Friday at 5 p.m. Central Time, same place, Sty Shack. Get over here for the Sty Times. We'll see you then. Bye bye.